Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. Right now, very happy to have back on Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat representing Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, serves on the House Budget Committee and House Education and Workforce Committee, Deputy Chair of the Congressional and Progressive Caucus, and a tough fighter, nonstop fighter for progressive causes in America. So, Representative Omar, great to see you, my friend.
Yeah, good to be with you, Dean.
How's everything going despite, Trump comes after you, but he's come after you for years. Is it any different when he comes after you now?
No, it's just a creepy obsession. I think he's a little bit more aggressive. It's not as light, maybe, if I want to use that word, as it was in the first administration, even though it was still very attacky, and now it's just like a severe, creepy obsession. I don't even know how somebody can come to mind that often without someone else bringing up their name. Like
He,
I use his name because people ask me about him.
right.
And it's like I'm pretty sure there are no reporters or anybody constantly asking what he thinks about me, and it's just no matter what he's talking about, he's like, that Ilhan, you gotta love it.
He has ODS, Omar derangement syndrome. He's
Yeah.
obsessed. It's also though, and look, we've talked about your life story before. You come from refugee camps. You're tough. I'm sure it's not easy, but you have the wherewithal to deal with it. What's it like for the Somali community? Because he's gone right back again, demonizing the community there in Minnesota over and over in vile, racist, like segregationist terms from a different time. That's what it feels like as I'm seeing him spew garbage.
Yeah. I mean, the Somali community, is a very resilient community. They are very brave people. They're very prideful people, and they're very confident people. They know who they are, and really feel secure in who they are. But they're also very humorous, and have sort of responded with mockery.
I think that's great. And I know the humor because I performed at University of Minnesota when I used to be a full-time stand-up comic. I still like comedy, but not full-time a few times. And the people from the Somali community would come out and they were great audiences and we would laugh and they would have jokes too. Like I would talk to them in the audience or after the show and they
And they're
always
not they're not sensitive people. I mean, they're very, very tough, very they've got a really good sense of humor as well. And so it's I would say if there were people that he thought were gonna kneel down or back down, he picked the wrong community to target.
That's good to hear. So let's talk. You just wrote a new op-ed for MSN Now, which is formerly MSNBC, and it's about Operation Metro Surge. And you wrote that this is the newest phase of militarized racial terror in Donald Trump's America, and it's playing out in the streets of Minnesota involving ICE. Could you paint a picture for people what's actually going on so they get a sense of the day-to-day life now in Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, every day, Minnesotans in the Twin Cities and across the state are waking up to multiple unmarked cars with out-of-state plates, sometimes without plates, that are pulling up with masked men with massive guns jumping out of them, going into establishments that they think are owned or frequented by people who are Black and brown, which is a clear case of racial profiling. They are stopping people in their cars, they're stopping people who are walking, they are knocking on doors, they're entering buildings. They're entering places of worship. They're walking around. They're not showing a warrant. They're not asking for a specific person's name that they are searching for. And so it is an outright racial profiling, but it's also a way to terrorize a whole community. We're hearing from small business owners that are saying, people are not coming to their stores or to their restaurants. We're hearing from places of worship
Mhm.
where people are terrified to show up in. And we're certainly hearing from schools where young people are afraid to go to school. And this fear is not rooted in the fact that they are undocumented, especially in the Somali community, since we are 100, nearly 100% either citizens or permanent residents.
Mhm.
But it's rooted in this fact that you don't want this interaction. This what sometimes can be very violent. You've got people being thrown to the ground. It's sub-zero weather, and so sometimes they're stripping you of your jacket. They're throwing you to the ground where there's a lot of snow. We saw yesterday they kneeled on somebody's back. A woman, I think she was pregnant. There was a young man who was on a lunch break. They detained him for hours and eventually told him to walk back. I don't think he even had his winter jacket in order to transport himself back. We heard from a woman who is from Edina, Minnesota. That was detained for 24 hours, even though she was a U.S. citizen, and she said she was manhandled. There could be possible assault there,
Mhm.
and so it is a really terrifying interaction to have, and I think it's also demeaning as a U.S. citizen, as a resident in of this country, to have to be forced to prove your documents in
Right.
such a manner when you haven't done anything, and there is no precursor for any of the stops. There is no precursor for any of the detentions. There is no precursor to the abduction and transportation to these jail cells.
So, I mean, what is the goal, is your sense? And I know you talk about it in your article. What's the message you're trying to send to Black and brown people by way of this manhandling, no probable cause? If you're Black or brown, they're coming for you, they're going to harass you, physically assault you. What do you think their goal is here?
I mean, they want to terrorize us into leaving this country. They want to terrorize us into silence, to not participating, to not being part of the dissent in this administration's cruel agenda. They have outright said, they want immigrants from places like Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, and they don't want immigrants that come from brown and black nations. And we clearly see that in policy as well, when you are welcoming Afrikaners from South Africa, but you're not allowing anyone else from Africa to migrate to the United States through the refugee program or asylum seeking program. That is not just rhetoric. That is policy. That is racist. It is policy that is bigoted, and it is policy that is un-American, because in our laws, we're not supposed to discriminate against people because of their ethnicity, because of their country of origin, because of their skin color. This is supposed to be a nation in which that people see as a beacon of hope for those who are fleeing from despair.
And in your op-ed, you also note that there was one 55-year-old white Minnesotan who stepped out to see what armed agents were doing, and they shoved her to the ground and arrested her and detained her for 4 hours. And she's a U.S. citizen, she's white, but she was showing some compassion and empathy to the Black and brown people, and they made her pay a price. What is going on there?
Yeah, I mean, they get really upset that people have the audacity to stand up for their neighbors. And they wanted to make an example of this woman that is a resident of North Minneapolis. I mean, they were so cruel to her that at one point they cut off her wedding ring, which had, to me, to this day, I'm trying to even make sense of that. What was the rhyme and reason for going that far? And then they put out communique that said, she was obstructing. And so if that is the case, then why isn't there a follow-up on that?
Sure.
And so it shows you clearly that they want to abuse people to the highest level, so that they abandon their neighbors, they abandon their principles, and they consent to the cruelty of this administration.
It's, I mean, I think you made a note online or maybe said in an interview that part of this you view is that Donald Trump has failed in his agenda. I mean, his approval ratings are horrible. It's the lowest for a second term president at this point in. On issue in the economy, it's horrible. Today, we just learned unemployment went up to the highest it's been in 4 years. Even if we can believe those numbers, it might actually be higher. It's hard to believe this regime to be blunt, but even they're saying it's gone up now from 4% in January to 4.6%. Do you get a sense the more he is failing, the more he feels under the gun, he does more of the red meat for the base type of actions?
Yeah, I mean, and those unemployment numbers too, when it comes to young people, recent college graduates, when it comes to brown and black members of this country, those numbers are in the double digits.
Yeah.
And so there is a clear failing in keeping the promises of his administration, right? He doesn't want to answer for those unemployment numbers. He does not want to answer the fact that energy prices are skyrocketing. He doesn't want to answer for the fact that affordability in general, when it comes to food prices, housing prices, all of those things are still too high for people to afford their lives. When it comes to the tariffs, we know that communities are severely being impacted, including Minnesota with farmers. He doesn't want to answer on why he's willing to bail out Argentina to the tune of $40 billion, while soybean farmers in Minnesota are struggling
Mm-hmm.
to access the markets that are now taken up by Argentina. He doesn't want to answer for the possible war crimes that his Secretary of Defense might have authorized when it comes to the boats that were struck in the Caribbean, killing two people who clearly looked like they were no danger to us. And so, what do when you're Trump? You cue the bigotry.
Yeah.
You attack people. You use every opportunity that you have to get a different headline than one that says, your administration is in a horrible shape. You send the National Guard. You send ICE agents to terrorize communities, because then that also we have to remember is a red meat to his base that sort of likes videos of these kind of cruel actions that we are seeing, which is unfortunate because those are their fellow Americans
Yeah.
that are being pushed to the ground, that are being maced, that are being detained unlawfully, and it is. I don't even think they understand. It is with their consent that the decimation of the Constitution of our democracy, of checks and balances, of the rule of law, of respect for institutions, and our norms are being broken.
Yeah, I mean, Trump gives them the red meat because they can't afford actual red meat because of his tariffs and the terrible handling of the economy. And what do we have? JD Vance today literally said after the unemployment numbers came out that our economy is A plus plus, three pluses. And Trump, of course, has called inflation a Democratic hoax. What can you share in Minnesota in terms of what you're hearing from people about? Do we have an A plus plus economy? Are prices really not going up? Are we living in this alternative reality that we've all made this up, or is it what's really going on when I go to the food store here? Trader Joe's, I love Trader Joe's. It's never been more expensive than the last few months ever. It's been growing and growing in price. What do you see in Minnesota?
No, I mean that is the number one question that I get from my constituents. I hold a monthly town hall, and people are wondering how are we going to deal with the healthcare crisis? Our premiums are going to double, if not triple. What are we going to do with the high cost of energy, with heating? That's going to be a problem for us this winter. People are talking about the grocery store prices. It's the holiday season. People are worried about how are they going to afford, instead of getting, one or two gifts under the tree, they might not even, they might have to choose not to get any. And so there is a real economic pain that the American people are experiencing. They were experiencing economic pain. And what I am hearing is just severe anger and disappointment in the fact that this man who ran on that is clearly now saying the affordability crisis is a hoax. And
It's
there is
unbelievable.
nothing, I don't know what kind of grading system JD Vance and Trump were used to when they were in school.
Right.
But this would probably be maybe a D minus
No,
economy.
three minuses. The counter JD Vance is A plus plus plus. Uh, it's remarkable to me. It's just it's uncaring. It's also bad politics. Like this is a real issue. You can't play games. This is not an election. This is not the kind of thing you can claim there's fraud and your voters don't know or not. Everyone knows prices are going up for the life of me. And then you touched on the subsidies. I read that there's going to be a vote tomorrow in the House. Is it going to be on the subsidies? Is it going to be on health accounts? I mean, I can't get a straight answer from what I'm reading in Politico and other places what the vote is that Mike Johnson, the speaker, is going to allow tomorrow.
Yeah, it is unclear. Mike Johnson is not known to be the most organized or strategic, or any speaker who's recognized for having command of the floor. And so it's very unclear to me on what he might eventually bring to the floor, or whether whatever he brings will ultimately have the votes necessary to pass.
So you don't even know if the subsidies are not extended and they're already gone. Just so I always want to make it clear, Donald Trump and Republicans already have ended the subsidies. It's not
Right.
like we're negotiating it. It's over. Democrats are trying to bring them back. If
Yeah.
they don't bring them back, what's going to happen to people in Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Minnesotans are expecting their premiums to double. And if you're paying 1,400, that doubling especially for those people who are unable to get a second job or a third job, who are already struggling. It is going to be devastating. People are going to choose not to have healthcare coverage, which means for those of us who will remain covered, will also end up paying more. And so there is an impact not only on the people who are on the exchange, but everyone else, and it will have an impact on the healthcare institutions that we rely on.
I mean, unless I'm missing something, Congresswoman, it would cost Republicans nothing to reinstate the subsidy. It's not like Democrats are like, okay, end the tax cuts for your wealthy donors because you don't have the power to do that. It costs them nothing. They just vote for it and it helps millions of Americans in need. Again, Trump's bad politics and bad policy on it's a hoax on the idea of inflation. Again, I go to the Republicans. I don't understand them. They could just do a thing that helps people and it can help their base, and they don't care. And I don't. I honestly, I'm lost for why they're doing this.
Yeah, I mean they do stuff like this that hurts their base, and then they create this chaos, and so they distract people, people's ability to pay attention and where things are going wrong. People are already too busy living their lives. It is hard out there, and so they want to muddy the waters, and this is why you're also not clear about what the vote is going to be tomorrow, because you know Johnson says he's got some plan. Then you've got Republicans who are creating a coalition with Democrats saying they've got a plan. Then you've got the Democratic plan, and then he says he doesn't like all of the plans. So it's when you have the person who's supposed to lead not have a plan of action on what they are going to do to save healthcare for the American people that desperately need it. It shows you the lack of leadership, the lack of care, and the lack of integrity that they have in keeping their word.
Mike Johnson is so bad he makes me miss Kevin McCarthy. And Kevin McCarthy was horrible. Okay, this is how bad Mike Johnson is. Like, so we learned a short time ago that Donald Trump's giving a 9 p.m. address tomorrow night. I'm amazed he can stay up to 9 p.m. He usually is napping at 5 or 3, but he's going to give an address tomorrow. And I'm not sure if you've heard more. Is it on subsidies? Is it bombing Venezuela because the Epstein files have to be released on Friday? And any sense of what he's going to talk about tomorrow?
He's gonna talk about me.
He's going to talk about you. Is that what the whole address is to talk about? Omar. He's going to show pictures of you. Here she is. I think he's really.
No, do you remember anything out of his affordability speech outside of the fact that he attacked me? Was there any other headline?
Nope.
I mean,
You
like
could
that
be
is that he wants to say like I am going to do these speeches, and then he just goes off the rail because he's getting up there with his senileness, and so he doesn't have the ability to concentrate. And then I think he does actually get bored with the lies
right.
of trying to spin that this administration is doing a good job. So he wants to go for the thing that gets him the claps and the chants. And so we will see. Hopefully, I'm wrong.
Right.
But I'm not optimistic that he'll give any sort of a serious speech addressing anything that is important to the American people.
I think he likes you. I think he wants you to be wife number four. I think that's what's going on here in this. I'm kidding. Sorry. I'm
Sorry, already married.
no, I know that. No, you would never. Oh my God, I'm kidding. Like, what are you kidding? Of course. So
Okay.
I saw that you sent just today, there was a press release a short time ago, two letters for investigations into Secretary Nome, into DHS. One is Minnesota, what you've talked about already, the Operation Metro Search. The other, though, is ending temporary protected status, TPS status for Somali nationals in the US. What can you share about that second part there? What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think in both cases, the letters are about getting clarity on DHS's ability to follow a set of procedures
Right.
that are outlined by law. And so, in the first question, we asked them, what are the procedures that you are using to carry out these raids in Minnesota? And in the second one, we ask what are the procedures in which you are determining whether to end TPS for Somalis or to renew it, because it can't just be the will of the president. It has to be based on something. So we would like to understand the basis. Maybe something has changed in Somalia that warrants the ending of TPS. But the American people, deserve to hear why that policy change is happening.
And the people who are here, they still need this protection, right? I mean, what,
Yeah, but so that's what we're asking. Like,
right. I mean,
why
again,
do you think this protection is no longer needed by the people that are covered by it? Has something changed about their status? Has something changed about, on the protection side of why that was already put in place? And I hope that there is some clarity, because if it is rooted in some sort of rational shift
mhm.
that no longer warrants the protection, then it'd be good to have that understanding, not just for me, but like you said, the people that are impacted, and just the whole country in itself.
It's remarkable times. And I'm sorry, Representative Ilhan Omar. Last thing, I want to get your reaction to the terrorist attack in Australia. The gunmen have now, we learned, pledged allegiance to ISIS. They targeted the Jewish community there. And also the other side of this, there was a Muslim man, Ahmed El Ahmed, who risked his life to save the Jewish community in the midst of this. And so you had this juxtaposition of the two events going on. But what was your reaction?
It was mortifying. My heart breaks for the people who have lost lives, and the people who have been injured. It did seem like it was a clear case of anti-Semitic attack, during the high holidays, and it is. I think notable that the man who risked his life um, seems to have the same faith as the ones who were terrorizing and killing people, and it goes to show that we can't always paint every community with one brush. There's always evil, and there's always good, and we have to make sure that we are addressing cases um, without prejudice.
Yeah, and that's a challenge. And I think it really was interesting. And in Australia, they actually use those words. I played a clip yesterday of an Australian newscaster saying, in this sea of evil, there was this moment of hope and good, and that what Ahmed El Ahmed did had inspired so many people in Australia. And,
Yeah.
beyond the Muslim community, just the Australians, that just the humanity, the
Yeah.
idea of the goodness in people can't be lost, and we can't discount that. Look, ISIS has an agenda that's inconsistent, I can assure you, with Islam. Their agenda is a political agenda, just like any other terrorist group. They use our faith to inspire and recruit people. It's horrible. I wish we could dissuade every Muslim to make sure they don't fall for the lies of ISIS. And I hope we don't see a spike of their actions and a spike in their ability to recruit, because it greatly worries me. I mean, it defines our faith completely inconsistent and inaccurate to what we're about.
Yeah. I mean, I personally even refuse to think that it is the faith that they are utilizing, they claim to,
Right.
because their call for violence, their call for power, their terrorization of people who are Muslim, tells me that Islam has nothing to do with their actions. These are just horrendous human beings who have chosen to live a life of violence and destruction. And their terrorism actually impacts Muslims more than it does anyone else in the world. When you think about Al-Shabaab, they're 99% of the people that they are killing with their terrorist acts are their fellow Muslim neighbors and their fellow Somali neighbors and countrymen. Same with, ISIS in Iraq, in Syria. And so terror, I think the people might have been born into a Muslim family, but I refuse to think of them as Muslims because their actions are inconsistent with with what I know our Muslim faith teaches us, which is compassion, peace, and coexistence.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I've written in the past about the greatest victims of Al Qaeda and ISIS and other groups are fellow Muslims. And to me, I agree. They're not inspired by our faith. They're not acting consistent with it. They just use it to
Yeah.
recruit people. And because they have a political agenda. They all have a political agenda. ISIS, Al Qaeda, Al Shabaab, they have a political agenda and they use faith to recruit otherwise good people to commit horrific acts. So again, yes, it's horrible what they do. It has nothing to do with Islam, but it's being used, and it's heartbreaking to see it. But Representative Omar, it's great to see you, my friend. As always, I wish you the best. We'll see if Trump invokes you in the speech tomorrow night. I hope not, and I hope that Mike Johnson surprises us and allows a vote on the House floor to reinstate subsidies. But I don't have great confidence. But I wish you a happy New Year. I look forward to chatting with you in the New Year, my friend.
Yes, looking forward to it. We always remain optimistic, so hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Inshallah, it'll always be better. That's what God willing it will be. Take care. Have a great day.